song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in.
Good morning, everyone, and I am so glad you are here. A special welcome if you're here for the first time or the first time in a long time. Today, we are trying something a little new. We called it a Bring a Friend Sunday, a Sunday where we encourage our congregation to reach out to folks who might want to be here and make that special invitation. I think this is a little difficult for us as Unitarian Universalists for a few reasons. One, I think we've all been on the receiving end of someone who tries to evangelize us, and maybe it's rooted in love and care about our salvation, but it doesn't always feel that way. It doesn't always feel kind and loving, and we don't want to have anyone else have that experience. But there are things that I know. I know that often when people come here for the first time, it can feel a little strange to walk into this group of strangers. And so having that invitation makes a difference. And I know that often when people come, because this church is big enough and this town is small enough, they'll walk in and see a familiar face, that their neighbor or their coworker or someone they know from a community organization or their friend was already here this whole time, right? And so and I also know that there are certain people in our church who tend to be the ones who bring in others, who, when I talked in our newcomers class, they say, oh, so-and-so, this is the reason I started coming. And there's just like 3 or 4 names that get mentioned all the time, you guys. And when I've talked to those 3 or 4 names, those 3 or 4 people, they usually say, I don't do anything special. I just let people know that I go to church. Like when someone asks about my weekend, or, and when something just comes up, I'll just mention, oh, I was at church this Sunday, or, oh, I thought my church small group made me think about this, or, oh, my church is planning a bazaar. And somehow that is the thing that gives people permission to start coming. So whether you are new or old or somewhere in between, we are so glad that you're here. This is a Sunday that we have designed especially to be an introduction to who we are, which is also a good reminder to all of us who are already here, right? Because we can lose track. So come, let us gather. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. I'm Gordon Bolar, a member of the Sunday Services Committee, and I'd like to welcome you this morning. People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We're part of a long tradition of liberal religion. I think a key word here that perhaps Reverend Rachel has alluded to already with bringing a friend is connection. I felt a connection when I walked in these doors 12 years ago, and I've been coming back because I still feel it. So I want to remind you that you're connected to us, to one another, and to the web of life around us. If you'd like to learn more about membership, joining the church, please ask somebody with a name tag. But welcome this morning to People's Church.
And as we begin today, a few announcements. We have several activities happening today following the service. We'll have a reception for our art wall. So you see the beautiful calligraphy and other artwork on this wall. The artists will be here and you can talk to them about their beautiful creations, their inspiring creations, and have a snack. We also, as you walked in, if you were here in person today, you saw that we have a table full of puzzles. We're having a puzzle exchange. So if you need a puzzle to help you get through the winter months ahead, pick up one or two and take them home. And we'll do this periodically throughout the season. So maybe gather up the puzzles that you have that might need a new good home and bring them in sometime soon. We also have our coming of age for youth and adults discerning values and beliefs class in room 19. And today we are going deeper into Unitarian Universalist history. So it's great if you've been at the other sessions to keep coming, but if you've missed those and really want to go deeper into some of the things I'll talk about today, stay after. There's snack, there's lunch, and there's childcare provided. A few other things. In this season of wish lists, we have our own here at People's Church. We have a board, both online and in the foyer, called the I Wish Somebody Would board. So if you have an idea for the church, you can write up your I Wish Somebody Would, or you can sign up to help make somebody else's wish a reality. And once we have 3 people interested, we connect them and make them happen. So the puzzle exchange is one of those wishes that grew out of it, as is a photo directory that's of our membership, as are a few other things that have come to fruition over the last year. So please sign up or join in if you have a good idea. And finally, our young adult con is returning this January for the first time in 4 years. So this is a gathering in this church over Martin Luther King Day weekend for UU young adults age 18 to 35. If you're in that demographic and want to come, there's information in our weekly email. And this is a gathering that in the past has had dozens and dozens of UU young adults from as far away as Colorado who come together to spend a weekend with people who share their values. And we have a great organizing team starting to make that happen this year. So in honor of this Bring a Friend Sunday, I invite you all now to sing with me one of my favorite songs, not quite a hymn, but maybe it should be, about friendship. So I invite you to rise in spirit or in body. Those of you who like reruns or who were watching television in the 80s might know this one.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down a road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, well, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. 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 If it's a car you lack, I'd surely buy you a Cadillac. Whatever you need, any time of the day or night. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? Thank you for being a Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. People, let me tell you about a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. Oh, tell you about a friend right now. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you. Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you. In preparation for our chalice lighting, if you're lighting a chalice at home, you're encouraged to type into the chat box, a chalice is lit in your neighborhood, city, or street. And I'm going to call Georgina up front to help us light our chalice. And this is a children's chalice lighting this morning. So if the children want to come forward, I think they know. I don't necessarily the hand signals, but I have the words and you can say it along with us. So you can go ahead and light that. And well, let's begin. We light this chalice as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the helping hands. This is the church of the loving heart. Welcome, everyone. Thank you.
So in addition to the flame we are kindling here at People's Church, we have people joining us on Zoom this morning who have kindled chalices on Munson Lake near Grand Junction, in Florida, on Gull Road, on 41st and a half Street, and on Highland View. It is so good to be together in time, even if we are not together in place. Oh, also in Ada and in Greenbrier. I now would like to invite our children forward for a story. No, I'm going to be right here.
Hello.
Hi, I'm so glad you guys are all here.
I like this story.
This is one of my favorite stories to tell. Some of you might already know it, but that's okay. If the story is worth telling one time, it's worth telling a whole bunch of times, I think. And
You like this story?
this is a story. So do you guys remember a couple weeks ago, I was telling you about something I learned in 18th grade when I was in minister school? I had to go to school for a long time to get this before I could do this work. And so this is a story about, I'm going to give you an 18th grade word for it, about epistemology.
A what now?
I know, right? What now? It's about how we know what we know and where we find truth. And this is a story called Answer Mountain by Sarah Squires. And I've changed it a little bit, but not too much. So to help me tell this story, I'm going to need a few of you all to stand up big and tall like a mountain. Oh, you don't all need to, I don't want you all to stand up right now though. But maybe Violet and you, whose name I don't know yet, can you two stand, Bren, can you two stand up back here and stand up big and tall like a mountain? And between the two of you, I want you to hold this sign. So one of you, okay, be your most mountainous selves. There you go, beautiful. And so on that sign it says no.
No. So what
So-
does that mean?
Oh, we're going to tell the story. Just wait. So once upon a time, there was a village at the bottom of a big, tall mountain. And on that mountain, carved into the stone, was the word no. And every time the people in that village had a question, they would ask the mountain, and the mountain would always say
No.
And that worked really well for them until one day it didn't. One day, a man named Jim was trying to figure out what to make for his family for dinner. What do you guys like to eat for dinner?
Spaghetti.
Pizza, spaghetti? What about pizza, spaghetti? Shrimp? Sweet and sour chicken. Orange chicken? Cheese sticks? Sushi. Oh my God. Tofu. Oh my goodness. So many good ideas. And so Jim said, Mountain, should I make my family pizza? And the mountain said,
No.
He said, should I make my family shrimp?
No.
Should I make my family sweet and sour chicken?
No.
Should I make my family mozzarella cheese sticks?
No.
Should I make my family sushi?
No.
Should I make my family tofu?
No.
The mountain only said no. And so everyone in his family that night had nothing to eat for dinner because the mountain always said no. And so they woke up the next morning really hungry and said, this is not working. So they got everybody in the town together and they had a meeting and they talked about what they should do for a long, long, long time. And they finally came up with a new thing. So they sent their stone carver up the side of the mountain and she carved and carved and carved and carved. We're going to take down the no, and now we need 2 new mountain. Oh, how about May and you this time? There's going to be a job for everybody. Everybody will get a mountain turn, okay? And they. Okay, you guys will get one together soon. And so the 2 of you, can you hold this up big and tall like a mountain?
Mom, can I be shorter?
You guys will. And
Says yes.
that sign does say yes, Herschel. That's excellent reading. So then the sign said yes. You guys will I'll get a chance. See how big this last one is?
How big?
What do you need to tell me? Okay.
A lot of people laugh.
So then the mountain said yes. And so everybody said, oh, this will solve all of our problems. And then that night, Jim, again, did not know what to make for dinner. And so he started thinking of things, and then he started talking to the mountain. And so he said, Mountain, should I make pizza? And the mountain said,
Yes.
he said, Mountain, should I make spaghetti? And the mountain said, he said, Mountain, should I make sweet and sour chicken?
Yes.
Should I make shrimp?
Yes.
Should I make tofu?
Yes.
Should I make sushi?
Yes.
And so he started cooking and cooking and cooking. And then he went out to the store to cook some more. And then his family started eating and eating and eating. And oh, it was all so delicious. And they were all so full. And so they went to bed with tummies that were too full. And the next morning they woke up and said, this isn't going to work either. And so they got the whole village together and said, it does not work when the mountain only says yes. We need something else. And so the village, oh, yes and no. Oh, as many as you who want to can, okay? It's going to be super long. And so the people talked and talked and talked and talked. And after a while, they still couldn't come up with an idea. And then one of the kids suggested something like what you guys said. The child said, the mountain needs to say, maybe yes, and maybe no, and maybe I don't know, and maybe wait and see. And the stone carver, and everybody thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
And the stone carver said, oh, that's going to take a long time. And so in the meantime, they covered up the yes sign. Can you guys sit down? And okay, now everyone who wants to be a mountain, come with me. Okay. So there's 2 parts. Okay, here's the first part. You guys start over here. Everybody can get, we got to stretch it out. We got to stretch it out. We got to stretch it out. Okay, we're gonna, and then we have, oh, let's get this. Everybody who wants to be a mountain, get your hand on this. It's super long, it just keeps going. Okay. Oh, there we go. And so it says under construction. So they just put up an under construction banner. And so what happened the next day when Jim still didn't know what to make for dinner? He said, well, I can't ask the mountain, so maybe I will look in a cookbook to get inspired. Maybe I will ask my family what they're hungry for. Maybe I will just listen to my own belly about what it is most hungry for today. Maybe I'll think about what is good and healthy for us to eat today. And that is how he made his decision. And that's how everybody started making their decisions in this town. And after a while, they realized they could just keep that big sign up there and not have to carve out the whole answer, because they could find answers in books and in their own heart and mind and belly, and by talking with their friends, and in all kinds of different ways. And as Unitarian Universalists, we find our answers to important questions in all kinds of different places, in our own minds and hearts, in books, in relationship, in history, in science, all kinds of places. So you all make a phenomenal mountain. And now it is time to send you to your classes. And so it is a specialty class day, which means most of you are gathering in room 9 before you go to your activities. So that is the big room back that way. I know, you're gonna turn later, okay? Oh.
Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go. Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way, and may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go.
We are lucky to have such a wonderful group of children in our congregation. And they help us see the way the world could be. And I have been learning from them over the last few months about a world with a little less shame and a little less awkwardness. So, 2 stories. About 2 months ago, many of you were here when 2 of our middle schoolers talked about how we were going to have a period product drive in our congregation. And one of them just totally nonchalantly mentioned, oh, I haven't gotten my period yet, but I carry things to help my friends carry products. And my mind was blown, right? Imagining a world where someone can just talk about that in front of a room full of people without embarrassment or shame or other weirdness. I did not even know that world was possible, right? And they are helping us see something different. And similarly, last month we had a sleepover with our elementary schoolers, and one of the younger kids wet the bed overnight. This happens. And so I was helping this child and trying to sort of keep that news secret so there wouldn't be any teasing or anything like that, which of course I wasn't great at. But when other kids found out, they were lovely. They said things like, oh yeah, that happens to me. Let's get cleaned up. No big deal. And again, I hadn't had the imagination to be able to know that that world was possible, where we can think about our own bodies and all of the weird things that bodies are capable of doing with just such neutrality and such compassion for one another, right? So they are helping us create a new world. And that is amazing. to be able to start to begin to imagine what the world could be that they are helping to create amongst themselves and inviting us into to witness occasionally. So good job, grown-ups, for creating a community where kids can show up like that for each other and to the whole church. And this is the moment where I invite you to continue to be the generous people that you are. The offering will now be received.
Please join me in giving thanks for all that sustains us, for the countless gifts we have each been given, gifts of life, love, and sustenance. We bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone.
In this time of quiet, I invite you to ground yourself by noticing your contact with the chair and with the floor. I invite you to do what you need to do to be 10% more comfortable in your body in this moment, and to notice your breathing. Look at your hands. They've been through a lot, these hands. They have strength. They have scars. They have beauty. I invite you to remember that it is these hands that do the work of love in the world. Hands may hold another's hands. Hands may type emails to politicians, sign cards of consolation and congratulation. These hands may patiently teach, quilt works of beauty, or write words urging peace. These hands may bathe children, feed elders, nurse the ill, tend the earth, organize communities. These hands may clasp in prayer, open in release, grasp in solidarity, clench in righteous anger. These hands are God's hands, your hands, our hands, a great mystery of flesh and intention, a great potential of embodied love.
I invite you to join me in song from your seats. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Our first reading this morning is Singularity by Marie Howe after Stephen Hawking. Do you sometimes want to wake up to the singularity we once were? So compact, nobody needed a bed or food or money, nobody hiding in the school bathroom or home alone, pulling open the drawer where the pills are kept. For every atom belonging to me is good, belongs to you. Remember, there was no nature, no them, no tests to determine if the elephant grieves her calf or if the coral reef feels pain. Trashed oceans don't speak English, Farsi, or French. Would that we could wake up to what we were when we were ocean, and before that to when sky was earth and animal was energy and rock was liquid and stars were space and space was not at all, nothing. Before we came to believe humans were so important, before this awful loneliness. Can molecules recall it? What once was, before anything happened? No I, no we, no one, no was, no verb, no noun, only a tiny, tiny dot brimming with is, is, is. Is all, everything, home. The next reading is Only Love by James Cruz. Only love is big enough to hold all the pain of this world. Sharon Salzberg. And so I imagine the entire earth as one beating heart held in the space of this universe inside a larger body we can't fathom, filling with enough love to lead each of us out of the cave of our personal pain and into the light. Enough love to lead all humans as one out of the collective fear, rage, and hate into a place of peace that is found only within our own hearts, beating in sync with the pulse of this planet we were born to inhabit, despite the daily storms which overtake us and make us forget we are the lifeblood pumped into these veins, every particle of love we generate running into rivers, lakes, and creeks, evaporating into the air we breathe. We give back and breathe again.
Our final reading is by David James. We have to believe the day will come, maybe not this year, maybe not in the next decade, but the day will dawn when love will be as common as air, and we'll breathe it in until it seeps into our bloodstream, lodges in our cells. This love will bend hatred into toys for children, mold anger into kindness and patience, bury violence into rows of lilies and snapdragons, into roses and peonies. This love flowing in us will shine up in the sky. It will rise at night and sing us to sleep. Love will fall like rain and soak the earth, fill the seas, carry homeless and poor into our homes for rest and laughter. The day will come, maybe tomorrow, maybe in 20 years, when only love will matter, when love will fuel our desire, when love will stretch its eternal arms around the world and everybody in it, and we'll realize, finally, that we've made it to heaven.
I think I will invite you to rise and body your spirit to sing this one together. I think I will do that. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to a friend. I'll have you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
How do religions get their names? What are they named for? My childhood Unitarian Universalist minister asked the youth group this when I was a teenager, and it's a question that I've kept close ever since, Googling etymologies when I learn about new traditions. So there are traditions that are named after people, obviously. We have Christianity, Buddhism, Lutheranism, Confucianism. Many traditions take their names from their practices. The first Methodists were known for being methodical about their approach to religion. Baptists practice believers' baptism, so people are baptized when they are old enough to believe and have a profession of faith, a conversion experience, rather than as babies. Islam comes from the word for submission, for the submission to God that Muslims practice. Sikhism comes from a Sanskrit word for learner, and people of many traditions claim the word orthodox, which means right belief in Greek. There are traditions named after places. Hinduism takes its name from an ancient name for the Indus River in what is now India. Judaism takes its name from the ancient kingdom of Judah, which is in the land we now know as Israel and Palestine. The Roman Catholic Church is named for Rome, Italy, obviously, and has the word Catholic, which is a Greek word for universal. So it's both rooted in its place where its headquarters are and aspires to be a church for all people everywhere, a worldwide community. Our Reformed Christian neighbors came into that name in opposition to the Catholic Church, which they considered unreformed during the Protestant Reformation. And there are traditions named after governance structures. Protestants really like to do this. So you have your Congregationalists for their congregational governance. The Episcopalians get their name from the Greek word for bishop. The Presbyterians from an ancient word for elder. Which brings us to us. At People's Church, we are Unitarian Universalists. And what does that mouthful of syllables even mean? We are unusual in having a name that comes directly from belief. The Unitarian Universalists and perhaps the Taoists are the only groups I know with beliefs as the source of name. And here's an irony. The specific beliefs that gave us our name are not what are most important to us now. In some cases, not what were most important to us then either. Not all current Unitarian Universalists hold Christian Unitarian or Universalist theologies. We don't require those beliefs or any particular beliefs to join a Unitarian Universalist congregation. And so it's a really weird turn of events that we are named for beliefs and we have a congregation of diverse believers. So to get to this story, to explore this history, first we need to know a couple of things. As many of you know, the Unitarians and the Universalists are two separate Protestant Christian traditions named after specific views of the nature of God, who each organized themselves in the middle of the 18th century in this country. So organized Unitarianism and organized Universalism in North America are about as old as the United States. And they consolidated themselves and chose the longest possible way to combine their names, I think, in the 1960s. So the Unitarians got their name because they believe in one unified God, not the Trinity that other Christians believed in. And they saw Jesus as a wise teacher and someone to emulate, but not part of God. They used reason, science, and experience to come to their beliefs, not only receiving truths from ancient texts or people in authority. And here's another historical joke. Most of the first Unitarians on this continent hated that name. They thought that their understanding of the nature of God was not the most important innovation in what they were doing. They liked this reason and science and experience, that their epistemology, as I told the children, was what was most important to them. But their rivals kept describing them as Unitarian, and they meant it as an insult. And after a while, one of the leaders of the group that didn't want to be called Unitarians just finally gave up and claimed that name, and claimed it as a badge of honor, reclaiming it as so many communities have reclaimed the words that were used as insults against them. So that's how we got our Unitarian part of our name. And in the 200 years or so since then, the word Unitarian has become even less relevant to most of us, to most of our personal theologies, because most Unitarian Universalists are not Christians. Many of us do not believe in any sort of God. So figuring out the mechanics of Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit is not what is most important. But we have inherited our ancestors' belief that God is one and turned it into our value that all is one. We are all connected in an interdependent web of all existence, a blue boat home that we share with all living things. And that calls us to be stewards and caretakers and siblings in this global unity, remembering that we share a common source and have one shared destiny. We have inherited our ancestors' practice of using reason and science and experience to help us come to what is most true for us. We do not find our truth written on stone on a mountain like the people in our story today, always the same and very hard to change, but we find it in many sources, in books, in conversations with each other, in our tradition, by listening to our own minds and hearts and bellies. So that's the first half. Now, Universalism. That name comes from our religious ancestors, the Universalists, who believe in universal salvation. So that means everyone goes to heaven after death, no exceptions. They came to this belief from their close reading of the Bible and their personal experience. They knew God was love, and a loving God couldn't possibly condemn everyone, even the awful people, to suffer eternally in hell. And they had some debates early in their formation about the awful people. Some people advocated that maybe they would spend like a good 10,000 years suffering first before they get to heaven to really work out whatever it was that they did wrong. But the group that won this debate was the one who said, heaven is immediate for everyone at the instant of death. So that group is called the Ultra Universalists. Everyone goes to heaven right away, no matter what, no exceptions. And with certainty about their eternal fate decided, the Universalists could then turn their energy to other matters, like working to love the hells out of this world. As the poet imagines, the day will come, maybe tomorrow, maybe in 20 years, when only love will matter, when love will fuel our desire, when love will stretch its eternal arms around the world and everyone in it, and we'll realize finally we've made it to heaven. So here's a story about an early Universalist from Richard Gilbert. Hosea Ballou was the most prominent early leader in the Universalist Church in America in the 19th century. And he often worked as a circuit rider, which meant he would ride a horse between towns that had Universalist communities, but not a full-time minister. And so would stop and preach a sermon and tend to people there, and then get on the horse and go to the next town and do it over and over and over and over and over again. And so he was riding the circuit in the New Hampshire hills when a Baptist minister one afternoon, another circuit rider. They argued theology as they traveled. And at one point, the Baptist looked over and said, Brother Baloo, if I were a universalist and feared not the fires of hell, I could hit you over the head, steal your horse and saddle, and ride away, and I'd still go to heaven. And Hosea Baloo looked over at him and said, if you were a universalist, that idea would never occur to you. And of course, this is an exaggeration, right? But there is truth there, because if we know we are loved, destined for eternal happiness in heaven, no matter what we do, no matter what we believe, no matter who we love, it really takes the pressure off. It's easier to be good and kind and loving when you know you are not proving yourself to some cosmic scorekeeper. You've already passed the test. You have an A+, and so does everyone else. So you can think about something else. You are beloved, no matter what, always. And that universalist belief in a loving God has evolved and changed over the last 200 years. Most Unitarian Universalists do not believe in the traditional Christian idea of heaven these days, although some do. There's a wide spectrum of belief and uncertainty about what happens after we die in our congregation. But we do believe in love, that all are worthy of love, and there are no asterisks on that statement. We believe that we all deserve to flourish with dignity and worth. We are all loved. And we make that belief real as we try to build a heaven on earth. This means caring for people, respecting them, celebrating them, recognizing their gifts, building a world where all can flourish. The Universalists knew before other traditions that women could be religious leaders. The first woman in our country ordained by her denomination was a Universalist, Olympia Brown, in 1864. She was born in Kalamazoo County, by the way, just outside of Schoolcraft. She moved away when she was about 2, so I don't know how much claim we really get to make, but, she's ours. She and many others who shared her faith and our faith were active in the women's suffrage movement as well. Unitarians and Universalists and Unitarian Universalists were deeply committed to ending slavery and were very active in the civil rights movement. The Unitarian Universalists knew that people of all sexualities and gender identities should be welcomed into full participation in congregations and the world. There aren't good records, but the farthest back we can trace a same-gender wedding by a Unitarian Universalist minister is to the 1950s. And they were common by the 70s and the 80s, decades before they were legal. We have been teaching our youth that homosexuality is healthy and good since the 1970s, that it's part of the wide spectrum of human sexuality. Unitarian Universalists were half of the plaintiffs whose lawsuit led to Massachusetts to become the first state to legalize same-sex marriage in 2003. And the first same-gender couple legally married in our country were 2 Unitarian Universalists. This is a history to be proud of. And of course, history is complicated, and we have plenty of religious ancestors who were on the wrong side of history in all sorts of ways. But this social justice work, this work of loving the hell out of the world, of building a heaven on earth, is such a key part of our heritage and how we practice our faith now. This work is not what Hosea Baloo and the other early Universalists had in mind when they practice a faith centered on love, but when that love calls us to recognize everyone's humanity and act to remove hell from this world again and again and again. This is where we are. This is where it takes us. So that's how we got our name, our overly long name, our name that doesn't accurately describe our current belief systems, our name that I nonetheless love because of the traditions it points to. These are stories to be proud of. Our heritages remind us that God is one, we are one, all is one. Our heritages remind us that truth is forever making itself known and was not given to us once and for all time. Truth is found in experience and reason, in relationship, in science, in the written word, and in so many other places. And it is our job to find what is true and to be open to changing our minds when our experience or science or anything else shows us a new way. Our heritages remind us that all are worthy of love, no exception, no matter what. And our heritages remind us that it is not enough to believe our beliefs, but we must act to end suffering and injustice and make this world closer to a heaven on earth. When people in this world ask me about People's Church and Unitarian Universalism, I usually say something like, People's Church is special because we don't all believe the same thing. We are atheists and Buddhists, Christians and agnostics, Hindus and Muslims, Jews and pagans, religious naturalists, mystics, and more, including so many people who don't quite have the words for what they believe, but nonetheless know in their heart what is true. And people are usually kind of surprised by this idea. A church where people don't all believe the same thing? How does that work? I respond that it's not easy always, but we are united by our shared values. We believe in love and justice. We believe in the interdependent web of all existence, treating one another with care, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Sometimes I throw in a few more. We have our principles on the wall right there, or parts of them. And we come together to accompany one another on our spiritual journeys, learn and grow, support one another when things are hard, have fun together, and do the work of love and justice. And if someone hasn't changed the subject by this point in the conversation, which is usually what happens, I will say something like, they sometimes ask, but what do you actually do on a Sunday morning? If you aren't worshiping the same God or any God, like what's the point of coming together at 10:45 on Sunday? And I say something like, the rhythms of our Sunday morning are much like a Protestant worship service with hymns and readings and a sermon, but the content is different. We don't have one source of truth. So what we talk about and think about and wonder about on a certain day might come from the rituals and holidays of the season, the needs of the congregation, questions and dilemmas that people's people have shared with me, important stories from our tradition or other traditions, or what's stirring in my own spirit. It might not be what everyone needs every Sunday, but it seems to work over time. James Forbes, the Reverend James Forbes, pastored the Riverside Church in New York City, which is one of the largest and most diverse in that large and diverse city. And he wrote that in a diverse church, only 75% of what happens in worship should be for you. That other 25% is busy meeting the needs of someone else. And that sitting through that 25% with care and respect is part of how we care for each other in church. I've preached this before. I try to share this every few years because I know I need this reminder, and I suspect you might too. Not everything we do here is for every person. Everyone takes their turn sitting through that hymn they don't like, or the reading that doesn't make any sense, or the boring sermon, or the ritual that just isn't meaningful for them. Because we have hearts generous enough to remember that in those moments, someone else's spirit is being fed by that hymn, or that reading, or that sermon, or that ritual. John Steele is a people's person of blessed memory, and he took this percentage, the 75% calculation, very seriously. He was a numbers guy, the chair of our finance committee at the time of his death 2 years ago. And in the receiving line after services, he would let me know what percentage the service was. So, a typical month might be 83, 78, 63, 94. And this always delighted me. And it was such a powerful example of how we hope to do church here, how we build community and support each other. He never seemed happier when the number was higher or disappointed when it was lower. He just wanted me to have a data point, I think. And he showed me with his number how we take our commitment to spiritual diversity seriously. It was lovely. So may we build a community where our preferences are not at the center, but love is, where we find truth in many sources, where we know that we are all connected in one beautiful blue boat home, where we know that all are loved, no exceptions, where we come together to support one another, learn and grow together, and do the works of love that none of us can accomplish alone. May it be so. May we make it so. Amen. And now, okay, we get to sing. I invite you into whatever posture helps you sing or sing your very best for our final hymn.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, looking over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, Nelly kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
So let us go out, returning to the world that maybe has never heard of Unitarian Universalism, let's be honest, but we know that we are a heritages that stretch back across generations of people committed to using their reason, the teachings, to knowing that the world is all deeply connected in ways that we can't even fathom, and that all of it is beloved, including you. So let us go in peace and go in love.